Today's Thursday, so we talk about success for Scrum Masters. We've been sharing success stories here on the podcast since 2015, so there's a lot to learn. But wouldn't you like to learn from people with decades of experience? Well, don't worry, we've got you covered. The Scrum Master Toolbox podcast launched Tips from the Trenches, the Scrum Master Edition audiobook. That's version 2 now out. There are 13 audio interviews, 3 hours of audio with Scrum Masters that have decades of experience. We've got Mike Cohn, Linda Rising, Lisa Crispin, Christopher Avery, Emily Weber, myself, your podcast host, Yves Hanul, the editor of the original Tips from the Trenches ebook, also available with the audiobook. Altogether, 13 super experienced Scrum Masters. To learn more, visit bit.ly/audiotips2. That's bit.ly/AUDIOTIPS and the numeral 2 at the end, all lowercase, all one word. So one more time, that's bit.ly/audiotips2 to learn more. And now, on to today's show. Hello everybody, welcome to the Thursday, Success Thursday episode this week with Mahesh Jade. Hi Mahesh, welcome back.
Hey Vasco, happy to be here again.
So Mahesh, on Thursdays we talk about success, but before we dive into that, we always ask, what's your favorite retrospective format and why?
Absolutely. So I think retros at a broader level, I always look at them as a restart point for me as well as the team. And especially from a Scrum Master and Agilist perspective, that really works as a restart point, because then we can get into a conversation, we can find out some action items, and our backlog gets built from that. So I think for the team, the backlog comes from the product backlog. But for the Scrum Master and for Agilist, I think our backlog, the one of the prominent source for the new backlog items for us is a retrospective. So I completely like them. And the formats, I think a lot of them, some of them being the fun formats where we just try to have some fun and just try to be end the iteration and on a happy note. Then some of the iterations we can really observe some of the things that we want to look back, observe some of the things, and then ask team that what are your thoughts, what can we improve. And
so by observe some of the things, do you mean like collect things that have happened during the sprint and then just present those in the retrospective?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we get a lot of opportunities through some of the metrics that may be used, some of the things that have happened and where we have missed some of the dates or some of the process that have really got failed and we have seen a setback. I think those are the pointers we can just pick up and bring onto the table into that particular format for retrospective. So that's what I look back retrospective format.
So when you collect those metrics and, the things that happened, maybe some dates were missed or maybe there was a conflict between two team members or whatever that might be. So you collect that information during the sprint, but then how do you prepare to present it to the team in the retrospective?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the practice that I follow is that I do not directly go into the retrospective with something on my head or on my PowerPoint. I tend to speak to people little prior to the meeting that, okay, you know what, we are going to try out this format. What are your thoughts? And I think that practice has helped me at every point of time, that whenever we are going in with something. So it has two benefits, that people get a chance to share their views. And on top of it, if somebody wants to add something to that, we can really polish that agenda before the retrospective. And that way, I think getting into the retrospective with little prior inputs that have been a key to run a successful retrospective.
Absolutely. So you talk to the teams, get ideas about what might be at that moment a good format or just even good topics, whatever that might be. But then we need to go and present that information, whatever that might be, or maybe just help the team kind of surface the information we're going to process. So when you think about that step in the retrospective, like how do you do that? Like how do you involve either the team or what kind of information collection you do to bring that data to the beginning of the retrospective, where we actually start to surface information about what has happened?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this has been a very dear topic, and one of the coach I admire a lot. When I spoke to him at multiple times, because it may so happen that over the period of time, people may find retrospectives to be very repetitive and not valuable for them. So the key thing I learned from my coach is that into retrospective, we have to start very small and start fun. So I think with that, what I mean is that whenever we have some information to present or a thing to do, into the retrospective, I follow a quick thumb rule that I get started and then I quickly take a pause, because I want people to get involved as early as possible into that retrospective, rather than me talking for a longer period of time and then looking at people if they have any ideas. So starting small and fun have always been helpful for retrospective, so that people start engaging from the beginning of the discussion, and that really sets the tone of the meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. Being comfortable with silence is actually a very good tip.
Yeah.
When it comes to retrospectives, allowing the teams to take ownership of the space, right? So bring their ideas, their thoughts, their questions into the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Mahesh, that was about retrospectives, but now of course we focus on success. So walk us through what you consider to be success for Scrum Masters. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely, Vasco. I think being a Scrum Master and being Agilist in the beginning, people or we may try to look at things of doing Agile, and then slightly people develop that journey towards being Agile and bringing those practices when people are testing those fruits of being and having gone Agile. So I think as a success measure, if I look at my journey, I just try to inspect and adapt on my own self, that if I have created a safe environment for people wherein they will find it an open space to discuss and come up with ideas, that is one. On top of it, I think the second thing, which is very crucial, which I have learned from the organizations and projects I have involved into and learned from the co-learning spaces, is that whether we are celebrating small victories or we are just waiting for a particular big release to happen and then we are going to organize something and going to celebrate that. So building a culture where we are celebrating small victories, and a quick check to do that is that if we just look at the calendar of the team, and if we have some smaller meeting set up to just celebrate some of the victories or smaller little things that happen every day and out, whether we have created some practice where we can cherish the behavior of the people that they have demonstrated during the particular iteration, or whether at a very simpler level, whether we have any sort of fun chat group where people can really come and open up and celebrate something they're doing outside of the work as well. So bringing people both with their heads and with their hearts into the workplace, making them feel safe about the environment to open up, and creating an environment wherever even the small victories are getting celebrated. I think that is a success measure for me. And having built that, I think the team starts self-organizing on their own self, and it really becomes a smooth journey for a Scrum Master and Agilist.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, it's celebrating those victories. It's a little bit like focusing on success, right? And bringing attention to success.
Yeah.
And through that, we actually get more of it, because people learn. It's impossible not to learn when you're being exposed to it regularly. Yeah. What success means in practice. And when we do those small celebrations, we are basically reinforcing behavior, right? And eventually, hopefully, we'll get more of it.
Absolutely, Vasco. I think listing and having in mind some of the valued behaviors, and then trying to imbibe them into team, or maybe just showcasing that behavior is really goes very long way.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that with us, Mahesh.
Great to be having got this chance to share about it. Thank you.
Part of a successful Scrum Master job is to help the product owner. Tomorrow we explore that critical role in Scrum, the product owner role. Tune in to learn about product owner anti-patterns, what you can do to help the product owner, and a real-life example of what a great product owner is and what made it so. Tomorrow on our Friday Product Owner episode. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.